If you go to a village, and I lived in the villages of India, I lived in the villages of the Amazon, women are not stressed at all. They're just, they're like completely different beings. And guess what? Here's the bonus from all this, is that if you wander around the villages, you'll hear they're having sex almost every night. They have great sex lives because the women live in a world that produces estrogen all the time. And men are in a world where their role produces testosterone. And they're taught, here's a key thing for testosterone, it's very unmanly to show negative emotion. Psychology has destroyed, certain aspects of psychology has destroyed all men because we're taught to talk about our feelings. Biologically, we want to make women happy. Women want us to talk, so we start talking about what's bothering us. It's the very worst thing you can ever do.
Welcome to the Dad Nation podcast, the place where high-performing men are empowered to reclaim their home, their health, and their happiness while enhancing their career success. You see, in a world full of noise, burnout, and mediocrity, we believe what's missing is courageous and compassionate leadership in the home, because when the dad gets better, the whole family wins. You see, this isn't just a podcast. It's a movement for men who refuse to settle for less in their families, in their focus, and their future. We are curse breakers and we are legacy makers. I am your host, Mitchell Osmond, and I'm honored that you've chosen to invest your most valuable asset, which is your time, with me today. Now let's get into it. Well, welcome to the Dad Nation podcast. If you're listening today, you are in for a treat because today we have John Gray on the show, and John is the world-renowned author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which is one of the most influential books of all time and the #1 bestseller of the 1990s, and it's been translated into over 45 languages. And with more than 20 books to his name, including his latest, Beyond Mars and Venus, John has helped millions of people better understand and respect the differences between men and women in both personal and their professional relationships. His work blends practical communication strategies with holistic health solutions to support lasting love, happiness, and vitality. He's a frequent guest on shows like Oprah, Today, Good Morning America. He's been featured in Time, Forbes, and People. John continues to share transformative insights through his books, through speaking, and his website, marsvenus.com. Thank you so much for being on the show today, John.
Happy to be with you.
I know we're going to have a powerful conversation. So I would love to talk a little bit about, your seminal book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Now, this continues to resonate with people 30 years after publication. But what I'm curious to know is, how have your experiences personally, as a husband, as a dad, shaped the evolution of your thinking from your original book to Beyond Mars and Venus? How have things changed over the years for you?
Well, if you've read Men Are From Mars, most of the people listening probably have. We can always review some of the key points for those who haven't. But those ideas, people say, have they changed in 30 years? If you're married and you've got children, all those ideas are almost every day you'll relate to them, how men misinterpret women, women misinterpret men. However, you're not married and you're more single, you're going to be more affected by the changing lifestyle that we live in today, which is we're all independent. Women are more independent. And as women have become more independent than when I wrote this book 30 years ago, they've changed. They're still different, but their challenges are different. Okay, so to understand that, we have something in our biology, and so I've gotten into biology to help explain all this, because biology is almost fact. Okay, you can measure. You don't go to a woman's doctor to deal with your prostate. You don't go with a prostate doctor to deal with your feminine issues. We know medically now, men and women are really different, and so what I've been able to do is find a host of hormonal insights and brain differences to really verify the basic ideas of Men Are From Mars. And they're all still true. Every one of those ideas is still relevant, backed up by science and so forth. However, when the challenge is different today than it was 30 years ago, the solutions have to be different. And the big challenge, particularly for almost all couples, is women are more independent. And when women are more independent, they make more male hormones. That's called testosterone. And they make less female hormones, estrogen. That's why there's so much infertility, for example, is that women aren't making enough estrogen. all dissatisfaction you experience in a relationship, whether it be a man or a woman, is corresponding to hormonal imbalance. So if we can, this is all measurable now. Whenever you're unhappy, you're stressed, you're dissatisfied, you're angry, you have anxiety, or you have depression, all of those symptoms, annoyance, irritation, lack of libido, all the problems that come in when you're married, okay? This is life, okay? So if you measure the hormones at those times, your body is making different degrees and different kinds of stress hormones. You've got moderate stress hormones, you've got acute stress hormones, you've got chronic stress hormones, and a few in between. And so at those times, they literally hijack your brain. For example, if you're producing cortisol, blood flow stops to the, in men, not women, but in men, it will stop to the left prefrontal cortex. Just stops. So what does that mean? You have blood flow to the right prefrontal cortex. All you do is look at what's negative. You can't see what's positive. Now, for women under moderate stress, blood flow stops to both. They have no logic. Okay, so your wife, if she's moderately stressed, she has no logic at that point. If she starts talking about her feelings, they're all illogical. And you're going to point that out. You're going to say, honey, she'll say, you never do this. And say, well, I did it the other day. That's just simple logic. But the emotions are taking over. And she has 3 times more blood flow to the emotional part of the brain than a man at a time of moderate stress. Now, for a man, for example, we, under moderate stress, we have no blood flow to the emotional part of the brain. That's why we like danger. Okay, we like to do dangerous things. I drive my car a little faster. I take risks. Men are like taking risks, doing dangerous things, competing, win, loss, making decisions, making risky investments. All those things for men actually produces dopamine, which feels good. And it also, for a man under that moderate stress, as long as he feels confident, he will have more testosterone and he'll have almost no estrogen. And estrogen is what makes his emotions. So if you have anxiety, just go do something dangerous that you're good at and it will go away temporarily. So we are so biologically different. You know, the whole idea that I'm hinting here is what I talked about. I didn't know the biology then. I just knew that men needed recovery time after working out with weights. Simple thing. If you want to build testosterone, you got to use your muscles and then you got to relax your muscles. Well, the same thing with using your mind. You use your mind, you've got to stop using your mind. You see, you work, you produce stress and testosterone. Then to rebuild your testosterone, because you use it up, you need recovery time where you do something that makes testosterone. So it's problem solving, challenging, stimulation of some sort, but there's no stress associated with it. And then you feel better. And then having gone to your cave, then your testosterone goes up, then your estrogen can start to come up as you want to find balance, because you always want this right balance of testosterone and estrogen. So now you want to spend time with your wife. So people loved Men Are From Mars. It was a huge breakthrough, not just for men, permission to be in your cave without being a bad husband, but it was the idea was women came up to me the most and says, gosh, I love that book because it helped me understand my husband in his cave. When he would go to his cave, he would be ignoring me basically. And I used to take it personally. I used to be afraid the relationship was going downhill. I used to get upset. Why would she do that? Because for women, in many cases, if a woman is still in touch with her femininity, which many women aren't, they're making male hormones, not female hormones. But if she was not enough female hormones, but if she's more in touch with her female hormones and she goes to her cave, it's usually because she's mad at her husband. So women punish us by not talking. I remember when my wife did that the first time, I thought, is this married life? I like it. And then she rejected me in the bedroom that night. I realized, okay, when she's not talking, there's problems here. So anyway, the answer to your question is Men Are From Mars covers some really good basic points, a good 8 points, fully expressed, understood, changes the whole dynamic of relationship once you're in a relationship. I wrote another book on dating because, again, how do you apply those same insights to dating? It's very different. You're in a different world. You're not yet committed. You don't have an easy out. It's a whole different dynamic of how you build the intimacy so you're ready for it. So I wrote that book. Also then wrote a book on sex, which is, obviously everybody knows we're different in the bedroom, but most men, they don't realize how women are different. Okay. And if I said to my wife after ignoring her for a few weeks while I'm writing a book, I said, "Oh, let's make love," and my wife said to me, "John, I'm not ready to make love. I need to get reacquainted." Well, I
Mm.
thought she was nuts for a moment. I didn't say that, of course, but what do you mean reacquainted? I'm your husband. No, what she needs is a certain type of stimulation which raises her estrogen. Women can't want sex unless their estrogen goes to a high level. And paradoxically, there are some women who don't have much estrogen and all they want is sex because they're on their male side. These are traumatized women. So, it's all confusing unless you really have a clear picture of it. When a woman has her estrogen go to a very high level, that's called foreplay, going on a date, and we can get into what that's all about, but it will raise her estrogen. When estrogen gets to a certain level in a woman, very high, then her brain releases luteinizing hormone that raises her testosterone, and testosterone makes her want to have sex.
Mm.
And so, many men complain, my wife doesn't want to have sex. Okay, well, that's because you haven't done the things necessary to help her raise her estrogen. And they're not that complicated once you understand how men and women are different. You
Mm-hmm.
raise her estrogen, then she wants sex. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't raise her estrogen, now that she just loses interest in sex. Men don't typically until they lose their testosterone. And that's after many years of being rejected or a variety of reasons that I explain in my later books why men's testosterone levels drop. So that's a whole
Mm.
other subject. That's in a book called Why Mars and Venus Collide. It's the book where you mentioned, which is um, Beyond Mars and Venus, because that's really what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond Mars and Venus means living in a world where culture no longer supports men being men and women being women. And
Yeah.
now we're creating a new culture that can support both men and women being connected to their male and female side, but in the right balance. It's
Mm-hmm.
if you look at the yin yang sign, it's like an arrow in between black and white, but on the white side there's a little black dot, and on the left side there's a white dot. That implies with every man there's a female side. When every woman there's a male side. Women make testosterone, they make estrogen, they make progesterone, they make oxytocin. Men make those same hormones, but when men are stressed, they make too many of those hormones. When women are stressed, they make not enough of those hormones. Men
Gotcha.
primarily regulate stress, mood, motivation, everything to a great extent with testosterone. It goes up, it goes down, it comes back up. So we have a cycle, which is you work, you use up your testosterone, then you relax, you rebuild your testosterone, then you give selflessly to your family and your friends and society and your country, whatever it might be. But ultimately, the highest nature of a man is acting from a place of selflessness. I mean, that's why, I was just counseling a couple who have been counseling for her for like 3 years. Finally, she got pregnant and her husband is completely changed. Okay.
Mm.
Just actually, it's her boyfriend. Okay, just get pregnant, get pregnant. Because when a man has a baby, suddenly you grow up. You can't grow up as a man unless you have a baby. You have to feel I'm responsible for that because it's just like it's no longer just me and all my pettiness and neediness. Because whenever you're thinking, what about me, 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 that's your female side. You easily become too feminized. You get
Mm-hmm.
the historically, there were actually a book written about this a long time ago. I don't know the name of it now, but it was about sons of rich fathers and that they had all the problems of being playboys. See, that's this typical rich son. He's a playboy. No, not all. He's the playboy. He can't make a commitment. He cheats on his wife. He has not there for his family. He drinks, takes drugs. He becomes an alcoholic, and he dies early and commits suicide. These are real common things for rich sons because they never had to earn
Mm.
their success. It was given to them. When you earn your success, and that success is the factor that raises testosterone. Then relaxation after that, you need to have fun time too. And then responsibility
Mm.
to care for those you care about, you love selflessly.
Yeah.
And if you're not taking care of yourself first, you can't give selflessly to somebody. And
Exactly.
same thing for women is that women don't have the same biology of us. What they do is when they're under moderate stress, oxytocin gets produced. Okay, so what happens for them is oxytocin is a hormone that says, I need help. Okay, so if she gets help, then her estrogen goes up. So it works together. Oxytocin does not lower her stress unless she gets help. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, just think about Stress is a perception of danger. Okay, so there's a danger. Is it going to be good or is it not going to be good? So go back in time where our brain's developing for thousands and thousands, millions of years. Women don't have birth control. They're getting pregnant all the time. They live in little villages. They live in a world of danger. There's tigers right outside the hut, So imagine a woman is pregnant. She's getting water from the well and she hears the roar of a tiger or a lion. Okay.
Yeah.
What's she going to do? Is she going to go fight that lion? No. She's going to go tell her husband, honey, there's a lion out there. Protect me. So ironically, when women are under moderate stress, they do have 3 times more emotional blood flow to the emotional part of the brain. She's upset. She's the alarm system that goes off. She's not like everything's okay. She's going to say, oh, problem, go tell somebody. If she doesn't tell somebody, that means she's left alone and her life is in danger. So just talking about problems actually lowers women's stress. Now, for men, talking about problems means you can't solve them your own.
Yes.
And also, if I'm hunting a lion, I have to be quiet. I have to sneak up on it, and I have to be hyper-focused. I can't let fear control me. So biologically, when men experience danger, if they have confidence, if they're trained and they had a mentor and they have confidence, it's very important for males to have fathers or people who teach them things so they know what to do. Otherwise, you'll be like a girl. You'll have all these emotions. So under moderate stress, we're not supposed to have emotions. We're supposed to be fearless. We're supposed to have courage. And if your mother's over there coddling you all the time, you never develop that courage. And this is what's happening to males. You grow up without a father, you're on your female side. And so they have anxiety, they have sensitivities, they have low self-esteem, they have failure to be motivated, they want to play. It's kind of like the sons of the wealthy fathers, but it's different. There was the absence of a father.
Yeah.
Which is also with wealthy fathers. Often they're busy making money and they're not really there for you either.
Yeah, I love that. And that's such a great way of articulating and I think getting back to the basics as to why we're so fundamentally different. And I've been on my own journey with, hormones and testosterone. And, toward a little bit later, I'd love to ask you some questions around this, I would say crisis around testosterone in men. But I'd love to ask you a couple quick questions because we've been talking about how men are so different than women and how women don't necessarily want things to be fixed. But as men, we're often taught to fix rather than listen. I mean, we get paid for it all day, in the workplace. And it's hard to turn that switch off for us. And even from a hormonal perspective, how you explained, we're so different. So in the Mars and Venus model, there are some concrete sort of techniques that you mentioned that dads can use to empathetically to listen to their partner or their children rather than jumping straight to solutions. And so what are some techniques that you could give a man who is stuck in that fix it mode and his wife is saying, I don't need you to listen, or I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen. Like, how can he connect strategically?
Okay, well, first of all, you don't have to turn it off. You have to, once you get the mental construct correctly, then it's easy and it will take practice, like throwing a basketball and hitting into the hoop. You have to practice it. Steph Curry practices every day for 3 hours. Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the master. He can throw the ball anyway, all the way back, puts it in the hoop because practice. I'm doing this 40 years. Occasionally I make a mistake. Okay. So I have a sticker. I used to, I don't anymore, but it just says, don't speak. Don't speak. That's your motto. Don't speak. I make money speaking all the time. I have to remind myself with my wife, don't speak. So it's just having a clear message, which is don't speak. But you don't give up your ability to fix. Every woman needs your help. And whenever they're upset, they need help. That's why she's talking. If a woman is talking, she needs help. If she's talking to give you help, that's a mistake. Women should not be giving men. That's a big problem for women to learn is don't give unsolicited advice unless a man asks for it. It's very annoying. It knocks your testosterone down. You need to find the part of you that's decisive. And if you need help, you ask for it. But if a woman gives unsolicited advice, it doesn't help us. If a woman is talking, just know she needs your help. Now, what kind of help does she need? See, that's the thing. You have to fix her. Don't give up fixing. Just realizing she has a problem. She is experiencing adrenaline. All women almost live in a sea of adrenaline and cortisol, and they never leave it in our today's society. If you go to a village, and I lived in the villages of India, I lived in the villages of the Amazon, women are not stressed at all.
Hmm.
They're just, they're like completely different beings. And guess what? Here's the bonus from all this is that if you wander around, these people are living kind of like rags and they don't have any sophistication from our perspective. They have their world and their hierarchies and everything. But if you wander around the villages, you'll hear they're having sex almost every night.
Hmm.
They have great sex lives because the women live in a world that produces estrogen all the time. And men are in a world where their role produces testosterone.
Hmm.
And they're taught, here's a key thing for testosterone, it's very unmanly to show negative emotion. To
Hmm.
show anger is to be the weak person. Okay, to complain is to be the weak person. Okay, this is what psychology has destroyed. Certain aspects of psychology has destroyed all men because we're taught to talk about our feelings. Biologically, we want to make women happy. Women want us to talk, so we start talking about what's bothering us. It's the very worst thing you can ever do. If you're bothered and stressed, you don't talk.
Hmm.
You're facing a lion. You have to be quiet. That's the only way your brain can process stress is to contain all negative emotions. That's what makes you from a child into an adult. They kind of knew that, and when you go through boot camp in the army, they'll line you up and they'll humiliate you, say things to you, try to upset you, and you say yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. And if you give any lip or you give a look in the eye that isn't like yes sir, respecting, you have to do push-ups. The whole team has to do laps. Everybody hates you for it. You learn a skill that men are designed, but we have to learn the skill, which is called containment. You suck it up. I even say to my wife, you see, anytime if I, as a man, am in a bad mood, grumpy, irritable, worried, a little depressed, passive, unmotivated, I tell my wife, I say, honey, anytime, I appreciate it, please. Walk up to me and say, John, you're overreacting. Suck it up.
Hmm.
Just suck it up. If a man could give his wife permission to do that, it would be fantastic because then you have her on the same team, which is not trying to get you to talk about feelings. Just suck it up. Whereas women are insecure. They want to know what you're feeling because they think you hate them because you're not talking. So the first thing you have to clear up in the relationship is if I talk, I become more upset. And if I'm not talking, I feel peace and calm, or I'm at least letting go of upset. Now, you asked a question, I haven't gotten to it yet, which is it's a basic premise of Men Are From Mars, which is women need to talk and men need to listen. So here's the problem is that one of the problems that came from that, you can't say everything in a book, but it sort of gave women free license to just dump on a man, okay? You can't do that, okay? So we set up rules in our relationship, okay? So this is it. There's a thing that women need in order to cope with stress. They need to talk. So a man can come to his wife and said, I heard John Gray speak. He talked about the biology of women is that when they're experiencing stress, they need to talk about problems. Okay, so if they talk about problems, it will then raise their estrogen, lower their stress level. So now they're not upset about the problems. So when you're listening to a woman, your job is not to solve what she thinks are the problems. You're helping her raise her estrogen so that the problems she has in her life are not upsetting her so much.
Wow.
Okay,
So good.
that's your goal. So you're solving a problem there, and you need to let her know the best way I can help you. Okay, so the idea is the best way I can help you when you want to talk is that I keep my testosterone up. Now, if I'm just listening to you and connecting with you, I will start to produce more estrogen and my testosterone doesn't go up. It will start to go down. That's why I get distracted. That's why my posture goes down. That's why I get tired. So what we have to practice is basically putting a time limit on sharing problems. Okay, that's the first thing. That's called a Venus talk. The Venus talk is I'm available every day to do this for you if you wish. This will help you to raise your estrogen so that your stress levels will be lower. This is a particular type of conversation where you're going to talk about problems and your feelings and what's bothering you. And it's only going to be for 10 minutes. Now, what happens if I have a goal of listening for 10 minutes? It keeps my testosterone up. If I don't know when this is going to end, my testosterone crashes. Every man's had the experience of women going on and on and on. And you're just like, oh, well, you can't give your full attention if you don't know what the outcome is. Men need a goal, and the goal is 10 minutes. Actually, for a woman to do what I'm asking, most women can't even last 10 minutes, and men can last 10 minutes. And beyond that, men will start to wander, whatever. So 10 minutes is the goal. So we're going to set this and say we're going to do this as an experiment because women need to talk and men need to really listen. Now, what happens to any man when he hears a problem is his brain blood flow goes to the prefrontal cortex and he wants to solve the problem. Okay, so this is our biology. You hear a problem, blood flow leaves the emotions and it goes to the prefrontal cortex. You have no emotion. If you tell me about your problems, I have no emotion. If I have no emotion, you're not going to feel connected to me. You're just going to feel me analyzing you, which is what my brain will automatically do. You can't stop it. If a woman comes home and says, they weren't nice to me today at the office, your brain's going to go, I wonder what she said that made them not nice. You can't stop it. Your brain's going to analyze for a solution to give it a suggestion.
Yep.
So what I want to do is understand that women just need to talk without men solving the problem or even thinking how to solve the problem. And the only way my brain will do that is if we agree that I'm not going to say anything. We agree that my way of solving the problem is to not think about it, but to feel what you're feeling. That's now the solution. That's what she needs, is for me to not think of a solution, even in my head, but to train my brain not to find a solution, because the solution will be for me to feel what you feel. And I can't feel what you feel unless I don't talk. Okay, so this is, as soon as a man talks, he's in the prefrontal cortex of his brain. If he's silent and listening without talking, then literally something magical happens, which is we have these things in our brain called mirror neurons. For most men, the only time they open up is when you're taking care of your children or you're having sex with your wife. This is proven. This is science. Mirror neurons allow me to feel what you're feeling. So when somebody's happy, we feel happy. Now, if in any way there's a problem in front of me, my mirror neurons turn down from my feelings to think about what I can do to solve the problem. They've measured this. Mirror neurons close down whenever a woman talks about problems. This is why women feel this, you're not listening, you're not hearing me. They need to feel connection. And the only way they can feel connection is if blood flow is going to the limbic system of your brain. So blood flow has to go to your emotions, but if there's a problem, it can't. So you have, but for the man, I need to solve the problem. My wife's upset, I need to solve the problem. So now you have a consciousness of the way I'm going to solve the problem is not talk, and we're on a team, and she understands that's how I'm helping her, and she has to feel that's helping her. You have to actually experience. This takes a while to retrain your brain, but not that long. If after each time you do it for 10 minutes, she says to you, that was so helpful. I feel so much better. You see, if you just sit there and don't say anything and it's done, and your brain doesn't go, that worked. Your brain has to be successful. But what can be most successful is what I do as a counselor. I sit here and women talk and I just ask them questions and listen. I don't solve anything. Now, so they talk, they feel better. Now, here's the next step. We're on the same team. When we do the Venus talk, you're going to talk 10 minutes about problems. And towards the end, you're going to talk about what feels good. Okay, like what you're grateful for, what you're happy about. So you share frustrations and disappointments, concerns and worries about your life, but nothing about me. That's the next thing, which is, this is why a therapist can be so powerful in helping women, is because they never complain to the therapist about the therapist. If a client complains about me, I can't hear them. I'll immediately go into defensiveness and explain why they're wrong. A man cannot have any other reaction. We're warriors, we're defenders, we're protectors. We'll die on that stance if you blame us for something. There's no way we can feel empathy for you if in any way you're looking at me as the problem. Now, I shared this. This is, my clients all do it. Thousands of women are doing this. They love it. It works. They don't know it's going to work until you try it. But one of my friends, she's a mega best-selling author, right? on her relationship. Her relationship is very challenged. And I said, that's because all you do is complain to him about him. Try this technique where you talk for 10 minutes about problems with your work. And she's a busy woman. She's frustrated, overwhelmed, all the stress, but she's on her male side. So she doesn't think she needs to talk about it. But when she comes to a relationship, those feelings come up, but they get displaced onto the husband. He becomes a bigger problem than he is. So when I told her about this, she says, if I can't talk about him or talk about the relationship, my problems with the relationship or my problems with him, there's nothing to talk about. This is how lost women are. See, women have problems all day long. And historically, if you were in a tribe of women, you would be talking about other women about those problems all the time. You wouldn't be talking about your husband, or you could talk about your husband, but you wouldn't talk to him about it. See, there's always frustrations and disappointments in life. But when women go to their male side, they become like men. And how do men process disappointments and frustrations? We rationalize. We basically just minimize. We say, no big deal. We say, there's nothing I can do about it. Don't worry about it. It's not a problem. Forget it. So when they're on their male side, making testosterone, and anytime you're working for money, you're making testosterone. You're not making estrogen, period. As soon as you're working for money, if you're doing it for free, you can make some estrogen because it's unconditional love and support. But as soon as you're working for money, you're making testosterone. You're not making estrogen. You could be making a little bit of estrogen, of course, but basically testosterone becomes dominant. And here's the biology. Whenever women's testosterone goes high and her estrogen isn't going higher, she will experience stress hormones. Now, if she can talking about her feelings will raise her estrogen. All she has to do is think of other things in her life that could be a problem and talk about that. There's politics she can talk about. There's office gossip. It's basically permission to gossip about somebody and what you think about them, permission to be jealous about something, permission to complain about something. All that stuff, women think men can't hear it. We can hear it as long as we know we don't have to say anything. And as long as we know afterwards, she's going to go, I feel better. Would you give me a hug? And then you give an 8-second hug. That raises estrogen as well. Not a quick one, just a quiet 8-second hug. So anyway, that was a big answer to a big problem. The simple answer would just be realize that by not talking, you're helping her because your brain wants to solve problems. Why do you want to solve problems? Because I want to help her. How I can help her is by not talking. Say less, don't speak. And if you have to do something, ask questions. But once you do Venus talk, you don't have to ask questions. You just sit there and listen. And it's in the beginning, she goes, how do I know? How do I know? Basically, because when I give you a hug, you're going to feel my connection. But now the research shows, this is where you have to just try it out and see it for 7 times, 5 times a week. You'll just notice it. She will feel safe to share things that she didn't even know she was upset about. And she will feel better for it. Now, why does she feel better for it? It's that when women can share negative feelings, estrogen goes up higher than anything else. You want romance? When you do things for women, it raises estrogen. Anytime you help a woman, it raises estrogen. But when you can listen to a woman without interrupting with solutions, you help her even more. She has the highest estrogen levels. And when those high estrogen levels are present, that then raises her testosterone in a healthy way. That's when estrogen goes very high. The brain releases luteinizing hormone, raises her testosterone. Then she wants to have sex with you. And if you come home to a woman that wants to have sex with you on a regular basis, it's a major testosterone stimulator. Yeah. Most of these guys over 40, their wives aren't wanting to have sex with them. They'll have sex with them, but they don't want to. They pretend to have orgasms. They pretend, okay, we'll go along with it, whatever. But unless she wants to have sex with you, you're not getting the ultimate message that raises a man's testosterone.
Yeah. Wow. Quick pause here, brother, because if your marriage feels flat, the intimacy is rare, conversations are turning tense, or deep down, you're just worried that maybe you're slowly becoming roommates, I see you. So listen in for a moment. Most marriages don't drift because guys stop caring. They just run out of energy, ideas, and clarity. And that's exactly why I created the Spark Starter Kit, which is your romance on autopilot for an entire year. It's a done-for-you system that removes all the pressure and the guessing. All right, it's 365 pre-written text messages for every situation, so you never have to stress about what to say. Just copy, paste, personalize, and watch your eyes light up. It's 52 date night blueprints, one pre-planned date for every week of the year. So all you have to do is show up and be the hero. There's 100 conversation starters that are designed to engage her and turn up the heat. So you never have to worry about the conversation getting dull or boring. And it also includes the Romance Reset, which is a 3-part mini course, which is strategically designed to take you from bored roommates to passionate soulmates. So what's the result? More intimacy, less tension. More passion, less thinking. You'll be able to meet her every need without ever having to even think about it. So if you want to get the fire back in your marriage, grab the Spark Starter Kit, okay? The link is in the show notes below. All right, now let's get back to the episode. That's, it's so interesting, John, everything you're sharing, it just makes so much sense. But at the same time, I can hear so many people when I think about all the, the articles and the blogs going on about, modern masculinity and how we need to be emotional and, all these different things. What you're saying is so kind of counter the things that we've heard over the past, I would say, maybe 9.
That's why I've been forced to come up with the answer to all of that. We know that anytime a man is angry, measure his hormones. His estrogen is too high. What is the way to produce more estrogen? Talk about your feelings. If you talk about your feelings, your estrogen goes higher. Now, I'm not saying men can never talk about what they feel, but just listen to this. Whenever a man has a negative emotion, his estrogen's too high. So if he talks about negative emotions, his estrogen's just going to go higher and he's going to be more stressed, weaker. His testosterone's just going to be lower. So it's the opposite. Why are there so many problems today in relationships? We're all going the wrong direction. So much in the wrong direction that you've got boys growing up not even knowing they're boys. They're way too far on their female side. Then growing up like that without a father in the home, that's another big issue for boys, is you have to be in the presence of a man to develop masculinity, particularly at puberty. At puberty, a boy's testosterone will go up 10 times, 20 times for some boys. Has to go up to develop who he is. That's a natural thing. If he's not exposed to masculinity, he'll be exposed to femininity. That will lower his testosterone. It will prevent his natural development as a man. You can't just spend a lot of time with your mother when you're going through puberty and afterwards. You have to be with men. You have to do male things. You have to be a lot with guys. There's a whole developmental process of individuation from our parents at that time, where boys need mentors, not even their father. Their fathers are great, but also it could be another man. It could be mentors. My mother was very wise. I'm the 5th boy. And one of my older brothers almost went to jail and then went to a psychiatrist to try to help him. They didn't have counselors then. And he said he's missing a mentor. He doesn't have, his father is absent. The father's, so you need to make sure your younger children get father figures. Well, my dad was home quite a bit. He traveled a lot. My mother made sure I had all these male mentors. I had a judo coach, a karate coach. I was on the front of karate magazines, because I was a young little guy studying karate. I had my own paper route, had my own business as a kid. She was always supporting me in being independent, being entrepreneurial, working hard. I think I was 13 years old, and the guy who did our paper route quit. So my mother knew that they needed a new paper route guy. My mother comes to me and she says, I have a surprise for you. I said, what's that? She says, oh, I'll show you. We went to the place. There's all these grown men at that time, all rolling papers and everything. And she goes and says, well, I know that we need a paper boy at our house. I'm signing my son up. He said, he's too young. He can't do it. And then my mother goes, I'm not too young. I'll sign up. Wow. She's so smart. I ended up having the biggest paper route in Houston. I had 3 times more than anybody. I hired kids to roll the papers for me, hired a driver to drive me while I was throwing the papers, and I paid everybody with Coca-Colas and peanuts.
Wow.
They worked for peanuts. It was a few hours.
Awesome.
Anyway, but it was that mother's encouragement for me to be more masculine, to be with other mentors. Manly man is what she wanted, is to be about men, not just... and my dad was from a well-to-do family and everything. She wanted me to be with sort of the more grounded men who sort of work hard. And so I work hard. I'm still working hard. It's a wonderful experience. And I learned through, my understanding of Mars and Venus, and once I understood hormones, then my testosterone really went high. By the time I was 50, I was having low testosterone. It was starting to go down. It's very average for men at 35 for it to start to go down. For me, around 50, it was going down. And that's when I started studying the hormonal differences, actually the measurements. And that it's all just simple. If you express anger out loud, your estrogen shoots up. Anger is not masculine. Anger in a man is completely feminine. You have no balls if you get angry, basically. Your body is not making testosterone. When your testosterone is converting into estrogen. Your body is making aromatase, converting your testosterone into estrogen, and that's when you get angry. So that's what every man just needs to know. You want healthy testosterone. If you're angry, don't speak. You can't say don't get angry because this is all programmed inside of us. You can change that program over time by containing your anger, not expressing it, not getting upset. Now, certainly I'm a bit melancholic. I can think about my wife who died right now. I can get tears. It's not like I don't have sensitivities and whatever, but it's not like I'm feeling sorry for myself. It's more thinking of sweet times and letting, the sweetness of feeling emotions. And it's just that stress emotion of anger or feeling hurt or being scared or feeling hard on yourself, feeling regret, feeling bad. I have techniques to help men who are more emotional, how to process those things. But the most important thing is to not share it with your wife. As soon as you share it with your wife, because you're already more bonding to her, you can talk to a therapist, even a woman therapist, because there's a detachment. You're not having sex with them. But as soon as you have sex with a woman, you bond. Therefore, when you start sharing your feelings, you have way more estrogen coming up. It's just a no-share zone. And it's not like you can't talk to your wife or tell her what's going on. I'm not saying that. It's just when you're feeling stressed, when you're having negative emotions, don't talk to your wife. Contain. Any argument you've ever had with a wife, it's because you were talking. There's no such thing as an argument without a man talking. All violence will be eliminated in couples if men stop talking. All they have to learn. If women play a role in this, because not all men understand this either. If women can understand, when a man's upset, don't get him to talk. See, women play an equal role here, is that they ask questions. Why would you say that? Why did you do that? How come you didn't do this? If you love me, you should do this. Why didn't you do that? They ask you questions when you say things. Well, what about that? What about this? And when you question a man, he's going to answer. And if he's upset, just answering questions raises his estrogen. And he becomes more and more charged. When he becomes charged with anger, a woman shuts down. She can't appreciate anything he says. Even if she agrees with it, she won't feel she agrees with it. Okay, She can't. Keep this in mind. She can't. Blood flow doesn't go to the front part of her brain at that point. She's in a state of fight or flight. There's no logic at all. She can't go, hey, that was a good point. That makes sense. Let me think about that. Maybe I'm wrong in what I'm saying. Impossible to do it. She's not able to do it. And for me, and my wife would be upset with me, and she said, you're not coming from your heart. There's no way I could change until we learn basic techniques. For us, it was what I teach women now. I went through stages, but the first step of this is my wife would say, as soon as we start to argue at all, my wife would, if I start to feel angry, she says, you're being mean, and walk out of the room. I teach this to all my female clients, but most men can't hear you're being mean because I've never been mean to anybody. I'm such a sweet guy, so I don't take it personally. But let's say you beat a woman up once and you say you're being mean, a man would get all riled up inside. But the truth is, when you're angry, you're being mean. That's what it is. So I like the truth. So tell me the truth. You're being mean? Okay, I'll stop. But it has to be a clarity. And she won't talk with me if I get angry. And then what I teach my clients now, and what she didn't need to do, but others can't always do that technique, it's a very common phrase now, which is really good. A woman can say, I'm feeling triggered and it's not your fault. I need a timeout. That seems to be the word these days. I'm feeling triggered and it's not your fault. As opposed to what women do and men do, you triggered me. Nobody triggers you. Your own insecurity, your own low self-esteem, your own taking things personally, your own issues are triggering you. You're no longer in present time. You're experiencing all your childhood trauma coming up at one moment. So own your trigger. So it's simply, I'm feeling triggered, I'm getting triggered, and it's not your fault. I need a timeout. Then you haven't blamed him. His tendency to follow you is not going to be wrong. Man can say the same thing to a woman. I'm feeling triggered. It's not your fault. I just need a break. We'll talk later. Yeah. You have to stop it. As soon as it starts to escalate This is where violence comes from. It just comes because men don't understand this one thing. Don't talk when you're upset. Women don't understand this one thing. Don't ask men questions when they're upset. Don't have the conversation. Have a timeout. Come back to it. Learn good communication skills. And the first one is, if you're upset, do not talk if you're upset at him. But what you can do is you can talk about other things that are upsetting you. And I'd say 90% of the problems in relationships all happen because women talking about problems that have nothing to do with him, but she makes it to do with him. Okay, what does that mean? What it means is she's got all this stress during the day. Okay, so let's just say she's a homemaker. I'm just remembering the first time this happened where I saw it so clearly. I was, at work. I came home. My wife was upset with me, but way upset with me. But this is why she was way upset with me. I forgot to put a little journal entry into the checkbook. Okay, she says, we're overdrawn in the bank, and somebody forgot to put the okay, somebody, that's me. And she was all upset with me. And of course, if she's all upset with me because I'm having sex with her, I will become upset and defensive. See, anytime your partner's upset with you, you'll get upset. Anytime you're upset, men, your wife will get upset and she'll shut down. Anytime woman's upset, he will get upset and attack, fight or flight. This is biological. This is what your brain is literally changed. You're no longer a human being in present time. You're like a guy on the, in ancient days fighting off lions. You cannot change that. What you can do is understand it and do the right thing to avoid yourself going into the place where your brain is completely hijacked. It literally is a hijack. And what I explained it. For women, when stress starts going up, blood flow stops to the logic part of the brain. They're not logical. They're just going to go replay the patterns of when they were a child, acting like a child, when the brain wasn't developed. They absorbed it all from their parents. We're programmed to be awful. We have to go beyond that if our brain becomes hijacked. For men, blood flow stops to the positive part of the brain and goes to the part of the brain that's pessimistic. What we're designed to do is have both parts. We're supposed to be optimistic and pessimistic. I look for problems and I look at solutions. And the great thing about men is that if you cannot talk when a woman's upset, you can stay optimistic. And she needs that feeling of optimism. If I'm talking to women, I'll have to make this point. I tell this story about my wife's grandmother. Her husband died. She was missing him so much. And she said, I loved him so much. And I said, well, tell me why you loved him so much. What are you feeling? She says, life is so hard. It's so difficult. And sometimes he would just hold me and tell me, everything's going to be okay. We'll always be together. Sweet. All the women kind of tears come out.
Yeah.
But see, that's what women are all really needing. Their deepest issue, if men could just get their deepest issue, is they don't want to be left. They don't want to be not seen. They don't want to be abandoned. They're insecure, of being left. And of course, they're all being left now. They created their biggest fear. Men's biggest fear is, we always have a female side, but our biggest fear is failure. Is that we'll be seen as a failure. Because when the opposite of failure is feeling success. When you feel success, testosterone goes up. It's the major testosterone producer. Making decisions where you anticipate success. Analyzing to accrete success. So for men, when they're upset, and particularly for all these sensitive men, I'm a sensitive guy. When all these sensitive guys, when you get upset, you're going to have more emotion than, a John Wayne type guy, whatever. Or our construction worker type guy, although they could be just as emotional, but I don't want to stereotype there. But some men just don't get that emotional. And I tell women, you're the lucky ones to get those guys, okay? Because they can listen really easily. It's the guys who are emotional, more on our female side, we have such a hard time from getting upset, from wanting to interrupt, wanting to solve. Because we have to learn how to contain. And ironically, it's our abs. And if you have low testosterone, you lose your abs. They go hand in hand. If you see a guy with a big belly, he has no testosterone. The function of the fat belly, it produces estrogen. And then estrogen stores fat in your belly. It's like a cycle of, as soon as you start doing the things that lower your testosterone, what are the things that lower your testosterone? Complaining, expressing anger, pouting, being unhappy, not working hard, not taking time to recover, and not being selfless in your life, taking care of someone other than yourself. See, these are all testosterone builders. So when I was 50, I had this drop in testosterone. Also, I got early stage Parkinson's. And when I analyze it, it's for me, I cured it all. And now my testosterone's 50% higher than when I was a young man. I'm
Wow.
73 years old. I just learned, I studied testosterone. I studied the brain. I studied how the brain works because I had this Parkinson's thing. I learned to heal it by understanding. Now, whenever I say this in a podcast, people say, well, how'd you learn it? What do you do? It's too long. I'm not a medical doctor. I can't give you that advice. What I do is I can tell you how to make your brain work better, but there are studies online showing if you will stop taking the medication, these supplements will reverse or hold back Parkinson's. The medications will only make it worse. They soften the symptoms, but Parkinson's is something that so many people are going to get. I mean, it's just more and more. It's had dementia, Parkinson's, brain problems due to our bad diets, due to our hormonal imbalance, and so forth. But anyway, if somebody does have Parkinson's or lots of ADD, the same treatment for ADD, and most men do have ADD, Dr. Hinz, Hinz, has a protocol online. And of course, then he started selling supplements because it's only using natural supplements to cure ADD or Parkinson's. It doesn't, their experience, he has 300 doctors doing it. But they try to discredit him. Anybody's got natural solutions you can buy online or in a grocery store, they're going to say something. So then they discredit it, not because it's not true. They're just saying that now he's selling products, so he's biased. Well, yeah, of course he's biased. Anyway, so not that every doctor isn't biased. They make money every drug they sell you. So
Yeah,
just
of
to know
course.
that. And just know with the chemotherapy, they really make a lot of money with that when there's so many other options there. That's a different story. But when it comes to men, testosterone's everything.
Yeah, let's talk and just in the last couple minutes here. And I know this is a huge question, but you've really you've sort of danced with this a bunch here and there. But I think that's a huge issue in our world today. I mean, I've been open about my lower testosterone as well. I've been on a journey of regulating my hormones in that way, and many of my clients have struggled with low testosterone. So, when you think about some of the causes, you talked about, talking about your emotions and some of those things, but what do you see as some of the, when you think of the top drivers for low testosterone in men today? And then what are some things that they can consider on how to optimize those testosterone levels? Hey, can I ask you something real quick? If this show has helped you out in any way, if you've gotten any value, clarity, or even just one gut check moment that's made you a better man, husband, or father, would you take 60 seconds and leave us an honest rating or review? And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss a drop. And if you really want to pay it forward, share this episode with a friend. Why? Because we know that there are millions of men out there silently struggling in their marriage, in their health, and in their mindset. Men who maybe were where you were just a few steps ago, feeling tired, stuck, and searching for answers. Finding this podcast might be the thing that changes everything for them. So thank you for being part of this movement and for helping more men become the husbands and fathers their families so desperately need. Now let's get back to the show. What do you see as some of the, when you think of the top drivers for low testosterone in men today? And then what are some things that they can consider on how to optimize those testosterone levels?
We covered them.
Okay.
When you're emotional, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Write it out.
Yeah.
Don't talk to your spouse about it. Don't find yourself complaining. If you get upset, suck it up. Just practice. It takes a while. Now, for me, it was once I learned this, I realized, I got really good at it. But if I ever let an angry word come out of my mouth, like something really pushes me, and I just let something angry come out, not to the person even, just anger coming out, it has such a weakening effect on me that I'll get a fever blister.
Really?
Just because it weakens your immune system. It's just like, so nature taught me, you want to get rid of fever blisters, don't express your anger. But it's being upset with people. Okay, anytime you're upset or being upset about your life, sharing your feelings, particularly sharing them with a woman, terrible. Okay, that's the worst, because you're already connecting to a woman. Then suddenly your estrogen levels are already, every time you connect with a woman, your estrogen goes up. Now, if she feels you're helping her, your estrogen goes up, but your testosterone also goes up, so you don't feel weakened. But So helping others is the major testosterone producer. Now, the other day, I'll give you an example. I'm writing a book right now, and the other day I was laying in bed thinking it'd be so much nicer to lay in bed rather than get up and write the book. And I started feeling anxiety. And I immediately go, oh, I'm feeling emotions. It's because I'm not doing what I have to do. So I got up and started writing, and all the anxiety went away. So, and the more high performing person you are, that means more energy is flowing into you. I mean, I'm just like a vortex of energy and coming through me. And when that energy flows through, if you stop it even the least, you have more anxiety, you have more anger, you have more stress. And so part of, well, I should say the really other big thing besides emotions is the fantasy emotions of porn. Masturbation is the number one reason men's testosterone levels are dropping. And I watch all this bullshit on YouTube saying that, oh, the research shows that you're going to have prostate cancer if you don't masturbate. Bullshit. That's not true. There's other reasons why men have, if you're a guy and you're not masturbating, well, who are these guys anyway? Basically don't have any life force in them that makes them want to masturbate. That's what's causing their prostate cancer. Masturbation is basically releasing all that powerful energy that's flowing through you. All addictions are. Any addiction you have is depleting you of energy. This the bigger ones that are easy to see is masturbation. The other bigger one is blowing off anger like that. You know, you have to contain these energies. If you're cheating on your wife, your testosterone levels are going to go down. But you will get temporary bursts of testosterone by cheating on your wife or by changing partners and staying single. It will, because you're getting new and different. So new and different will always stimulate testosterone, but it's like an addiction. What you want is to be able to have same and have the testosterone containment. Masturbation, major stress reducer. Let me give you an example of how it affects testosterone. They did a study on 25-year-olds who are supposed to have the high testosterone, right? So they have sex on Saturday night with their partner. And after sex, always your testosterone level goes down to baseline. Goes up during sex, goes down to baseline. Baseline after 35 is going down every year, 1% to 2% for your average guy. So now you have sex on Saturday night, it goes down to baseline. And the typical couple will have sex twice a week. In the beginning, 3 or 4 times, but it mellows out to about twice a week. So Saturday night, 3 days later, you have sex again. So they had people have sex on Saturday night, had sex on Tuesday. Okay, so it went down the baseline, goes back up for a moment, then goes back down. And then when he wakes up on Saturday, he's on baseline. And then eventually he has sex that night. Here's what happens if you have sex once a week. He had sex Saturday night, abstained from sex for 6 days. On the 7th day, when he wakes up, his testosterone is 50% higher. So that means his energy, his focus on his wife on Saturday is going to be more romantic. It's going to be more attentive. It's going to be like the guy he was when he first fell in love because there was newness. When the newness goes away, testosterone goes down. But if you're having too much sex, it releases that energy. And you're masturbating. Some guys are masturbating every day. You have no life force in you at all. Yeah. It's weakening who you are. It's always been known, and every ancient tradition is conservation of semen is essence. Now, part of my success, I mean, when I look back, you kind of go, how did I do all this? Well, I was a celibate during my 20s. I wasn't as a teenager. That was fun. But I became a celibate monk because I was into finding mentors. And one of my mentors was the founder of Transcendental Meditation. Do you know what TM is? Transcendental Meditation?
No.
Okay, well, meditation is also a testosterone producer, but being a monk is a major testosterone producer. What you do as a monk is you don't have sex, you don't masturbate, you don't have the conveniences, you don't watch TV, you meditate a lot, you do yoga a lot, you do gardening a lot. For me, I mean, I'm a super monk. I would sleep on the floor. I would pack long fasting. I'm sort of an extremist, and so I really experienced the full benefit of being a monk and celibate, never touching the penis, okay? It would once come up and say, touch me, and you just meditate and it goes back down. But 9 years of that enlightened my consciousness. I mean, it just suddenly, I'm unlimited creative, just flows all the time, it just, because I practice meditation. So meditation, and there's all kinds of meditation, are very powerful for men to produce testosterone as well. Silence. See, anytime you're quiet, you're gonna increase your testosterone. And meditation is boring until you get good at it. Once you're good at it, meaning you created the channels, then whenever you're doing something you're good at, that makes testosterone, and you're silent. Exercise as well. If you're not getting the muscles, you need muscles to produce testosterone. Different body types need more muscle mass. But I have a guy who, anyway, trainers for the high-end military guys, he's like Superman. I mean, he's just gorgeous, but he can't get his penis up with his girlfriend. And that's because his testosterone is so low. He didn't know that. I said, your testosterone's low, that's all. And he said, nah, I can't be. I've got all these muscles. Are you kidding? I said, go test them. They were zero, because he uses it all up to make those muscles. And this is how I learned when I was, long before I knew everything, back in the 80s, and back in the 80s, 1980s, I was learning about men and women, studying the whole thing. And I go to muscle magazines, hear all these muscle guys, and then there's all these libido pills. What 25-year-old needs libido pills? I mean, come on. If you build your muscles too big, what happens is then your balls basically, well, that's if you take steroids, your balls disappear. But if you make big muscles, those muscles need to use up your testosterone to make them. So that's why you have to recover. You have to find the right balance for you. And the whole thing with low testosterone is it's easy to be turned on sexually when you have low testosterone to a stranger. It's hard to stay turned on to someone you love, because when you love somebody, it produces estrogen, and estrogen lowers testosterone. So you have to feel very successful in order to sustain attraction to your wife. And of course, the number one success any man can ever experience is having a woman depend on him and appreciate him. So this Venus talk thing is a great thing where women get, this is what I need. I have somebody I can go and vent to. As long as I don't vent about him, he becomes a better person and I feel happier. So that's one aspect of it. There's a lot of aspects, but a lot of this is in the book Beyond Mars and Venus, how women can do things to raise their estrogen, how they can get a man to do things for her to raise her estrogen, and for men, a whole list of things on how to do testosterone and so forth. But we covered a lot of them. But again, it's also, as we get older, our digestion changes and we don't get full digestion of our proteins. So, protein shakes are fantastic. That was a big part of my solution for my ADD, Parkinson's, that whole thing, and raising my testosterone is protein shakes. And I have a special protein shake that I recommend to people, which has a certain concentration of enzymes. So if you take that shake, grass-fed, low-heat processed whey protein with a little casein, then you take that shake and you put it in hot water, 101 degrees water, for 45 minutes with the enzymes that are already in it. It pre-digests itself. So what you're getting is pure peptides. The whole big thing now is $10,000 peptides, injection. No, this shake will give you pure peptides, and it's just a protein shake. You just have to cook it. It cooks itself. So if people want to know the shakes I recommend that have the enzymes in them, they can go to marsvenus.com/contact. And we'll send you to somebody who sells those shakes. But that's a key factor. I do that every day. I wouldn't go, well, I miss it some days when I'm traveling. But you want to get lots of extra pre-digested protein into your body. The other factor is Tonkat Ali. I needed that back when I was in my 50s. That really bumped it up. All I think about is sex if I took it now. But there's all these testosterone boosters and everything. But from the research I've done, one of the most profound, and the one I used to promote when I had a health food store, is Tonkat Ali. Most of them have Tonkat Ali in them, but that's a really good one to help your body make testosterone, as opposed to needing to take testosterone.
Yeah. Wow. Love it. John, you've given us so much to think about and to chew on, and we've hit a lot of great topics. Last question before we go. I know there's going to be a lot of guys who want to reach out, learn more about what you're up to and your work and all that stuff. So where's the best place that they can find you online?
marsvenus.com. I suggest any guy to take my class on Secrets of Great Sex, because there's a lot in sex that can raise your testosterone levels. If you're coming too soon, your testosterone levels are just going to deflate. You have to learn how to last longer in sex, and that's really, really important. And you have to be able to bring a woman to a higher level. See, the higher you bring a woman, the higher your testosterone levels will go. And the more you're connected to your female side, your estrogen goes up too fast, and so you basically, it knocks your testosterone down. You ejaculate too soon. So having the right skills for sex is also a very important aspect of sustaining testosterone as you age. And I have an app that's coming out in a month that's taken me 15 years to develop, but with the help of AI, it can now finally work the way I want it to. And it's an app that helps you to process your emotions in a technique that I've been teaching. It's in all of my books. It's in the end of every book to help you process emotions so you come back to feeling love. And it's for men, it's about analyzing your emotions in such a way that you can let go of them. And it's a big whole discussion of it, but it's called Heart Space. So that will be, at the App Store in about a month, and you can check it out. But that allows you to then contain. You've got all this emotion, you don't know what to do with it. Some men, you can just go work out. Some men, you can just go drive your car. Some men, you listen to loud music, play a video game. These things will help produce testosterone. But the most enlightened thing, when you're really on your female side, is a lot of wisdom. You can analyze those emotions and process them that way. You take anger, frustration, disappointment, fear, and you convert it into confidence, love, trust, and all these good feelings. So that's available too. Anyway, that will be at my website in a month too.
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. I'll put all those links in the show notes below if you're listening. Thank you, John, so much for joining us today on the Dad Nation podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning into the Dad Nation podcast today. Listen, if today's conversation challenged you, if it encouraged you or helped you level up in any area of your life, would you do me a favor? Take 60 seconds to rate and review the show on whatever platform you're listening on. This helps us reach more men who need to hear this message. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Dad Nation YouTube channel, where you're going to find full episodes, clips, and exclusive content designed to help you win at home just like you do at work. Remember, your family does not need perfection. They need your presence. Your leadership matters. So keep showing up, keep leveling up, and never forget, when the dad gets better, the whole family wins. We'll see you next time.